resume the Board of Education meeting. If you kindly stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening and welcome. Mr. Blair, would you kindly introduce our guests this evening?
Sure. Good evening, everyone. Tonight in the audience we have Pat Fedor, representing our Administrators Association. In the back we have Martha Shoemaker, the president of the Federation of Classroom Teachers here in Waterford. Dan Spelman from the Recreation Commission. We have Tess Townsend from the London Day. And we also have a special guest with us this evening, Senator Andrea Stillman. So welcome, everyone.
Thank you. As customary, are there any comments from our guests this evening? Will we continue? Any comments from our guests this evening? Hearing none, we'll move right to a very pleasant portion of this meeting with the recognition of our Senator Andrea Stillman. Mr. Elliott?
Yes, if I could, just to take a couple of minutes. So this evening we have an opportunity to recognize a very special person here in Waterford, an individual who has made significant contributions to the town, to the state, but in particular really a friend and supporter of the Waterford Public Schools. Throughout her distinguished career, she's always had a very special spot in her heart for the Waterford Public Schools. So how do I know that? At a recent meeting, talking with our administrative staff, I said, I've known Andrea for the last 4 years, and I knew her when I was in East Lyme. Tell me the real skinny on Andrea Stillman. So here's one of the things that I learned, is that back in the days of Southwest, she was a very active parent, very active parent. Andrea right now has grandchildren that attend both the Friendship School as well as Great Neck School. So she's really come full circle, her own children and then her grandchildren. And I think that's very special. She's spent 5 terms in the State Senate. She's spent 6 terms in the House of Representatives. And I think probably the headline for Andrea Stillman is really about public service. And I think we all owe you a great deal of gratitude for the work that you've done. The other thing that the administrators shared with me is that Andrea was always a visible presence in our school. And what I mean by that, she wasn't there for the Kodak moment as a politician. She was there because she cared. After we met, Gene Ryan reached out to Don Macrino, just for a comment or two. And one of the things that Don shared is that when Waterford lost former graduates to wars, Andrea was there supporting Waterford High School. Andrea was always seen in our schools on Veterans Day and very supportive of the Friendship School, really on the ground floor and the planning and the preparation for that. So she's been a great friend. When I first arrived here in Waterford, we had an opportunity to really look at the Waterford High School construction project. It was Renovate as New, and it was something that had been missed. And the building project had been underway. And quite frankly, you can't apply for Renovate as New after the fact. And I gave Andrea a call and I said, there's a little bit of a loophole that we can really tackle, but we really need your support. The first response to her, when do you want to meet and how can I help? And we put our heads together. She was able to present legislation, and as a result, $7 million of ineligible costs at Waterford High School now became eligible, and as a grant, Waterford received an additional $2.4 million to offset the cost of the taxpayers here in Waterford. So my personal experience with Andrea is she's a can-do person. And tonight, Andrea's retiring, if you don't know. She is having a political season of a lifetime. She's not knocking on doors and campaigning. And so tonight, Andrea, we wanted to invite you as the Board of Education and for folks from Waterford and from the Waterford Public Schools to say, thank you. You are truly a friend to the Waterford Public Schools.
Before we give your award, Andrea, I would also like to say from the Board of Education, Andrea has truly been a true friend to education from preschool all the way through the college years, and you've always been so good to come in here and talk to us, and all you've done for the children here in Waterford. I know I speak for the entire Board of Education when we say to you we're going to miss you, and you're always welcome to come back in and visit us. And Andrea knows this. I have a personal relationship with Andrea. It goes back a couple of decades almost now. And I have to say that as a politician, Andrea has always been very kind, very civil, and I always say to her, Andrea, how do you keep that very calm attitude that you haven't accomplished so much? So you've been a true friend to education and to this town. Thank you very much.
So we have a little recognition and we have a Kodak moment.
We love ladies' time. So I'll read it from the Waterford Public Schools. Friend of Waterford presented to Senator Andrea Stillman for strong advocacy and support of children and lasting contributions to Waterford Public Schools, presented by the Waterford Board of Education on October 23rd, 2014. Thank you very much.
It'll be on our website tomorrow, Andrew.
The floor is yours. If you'd like to say something. Thank you.
The time when I get a little overwhelmed. As was mentioned, I've been around for many years, and I think beneath it all it was a labor of love. But I couldn't do it alone, and I treasure the friendship and the opportunities that I've had to be as helpful as I can be, because I believe that's what the role is to be there, to be supportive and helpful for people who need you, for municipalities that need you, for the children that need you, and for someone who never had political aspirations. It's been very heartwarming all these years to have the support of people in my district, which grew from a district of about 23,000 when I was first elected to the House to almost 100,000 people as a state senator. It has been an education for me as well. I've learned so much. I've had opportunity to, as I said, to meet so many people, and I hope be an effective senator. But I also know I'm not indispensable, and whoever is fortunate enough, we're not going to get political tonight, but whoever is fortunate enough to take the seat in the 20th district, I hope and I know that they will embrace that opportunity the way I did. And I thank you all. I think the wonderful education my children got and that my grandchildren are now getting in Waterford is reflective of the great job that this school system does. And those of you that teach in the system, that have children that are going to the school here, I believe are fortunate. You know, nothing's perfect. We all know that. But I think the opportunities are really very good in this town. And it has been, not losing, but certainly I will not be as visible. I'll see you all around town. But certainly, having raised my family here, my husband and I live in that better community to raise our family. So thank you very much. It's been an honor and a pleasure to work with every one of you through the years, and I will continue to keep an eye on things. If anybody needs anything, call me. I don't know what I can do as a performer, but hopefully if someone is in need of a contact or something, I'd be more than happy to help in that regard.
But thank you all very much. Thank you. This truly is special. It will have a special place in my office, in my home. And I've weeded through a lot of things, but there are some things that truly are greatly appreciated and special, and this is one of them. And I'm touched.
Thank you.
Thank you. We can take them, I was going to say, we usually take a visit. You're more than welcome to stay for the board meeting, but feel free if you have other engagement tonight.
Can I have some?
You may have a copy. You get the whole package, and we thank you very much, and feel free to do whatever you wish. That takes us right to our nice presentation for Clark Lane Middle School, the 8th grade, and
Visiting the high school.
Visiting the high school.
So as Greg is doing a little setup, if I could just briefly give an intro. One of the things that we've been talking about as a board for more than a year, especially since we've opened the new high school, how can we best market the opportunities for all Waterford students in the 8th grade in particular with high school experiences? We know that our students have a number of choices, and from our vantage point, Waterford High School is the very best choice. So we began in earnest last spring, Jim, Andre, and I having conversations about the need for us to put our best foot forward and really promote the opportunities that our youth have at Waterford High School. And then over the course of the summer, it really gained momentum. And in the fall this year, you'll see that we've had a lot of energy, and we've just come out of the box really with a great approach in sharing with students what's available to them at Waterford High School. So Greg Glutz, who teaches at Waterford High School and also serves as a teaching assistant principal, along with some other staff, have really taken the bull by the horns and have put together a nice approach for 8th grade students. Okay.
There's extra copies of the presentation over there if anyone's interested. But thanks for having me. Jerry said we came together, really it was an idea that Andre and Jim had probably starting in the spring. The first day of school I came to Andre with an idea and a vision for more collaboration and partnership between the two schools, especially with the 8th graders getting more acclimated with high school. As you know, we have the best high school in Connecticut, facility-wise, school culture-wise. And there's been a trend with the area, we're losing our 8th graders to area schools. Currently there's 12 area high schools that are actively recruiting our 8th graders. And we haven't had anything in place. I mean, the notion for very long has been, well, if you live in Waterford, you're going to come to Waterford High School, and we know that that's not the case anymore. So there's a team of Clark Lane representatives, and Andre, myself, Gene, Ryan, we went down on September 18th to the middle school. We met with Jim and his staff, and we really just bounced some ideas around. And in less than a month's time, we came together with a 2-day event that has had really positive feedback. So I'm just going to describe that event and show you a couple of the videos that are online. Maybe some people in the community have seen them, but here's a slideshow of something that we did. So the event took place on October 14th and 15th. We split the 8th grade class into two. Half the grade came down on the 14th, the other half came down on the 15th. Jim and Tracy had a great idea to have the students walk to the high school, and they did that in unison, which is a really nice bonding activity. They came in, our high schoolers who were selected by Andre and I, greeted them at the door. They were able to walk over the bridge of the concourse, which is a beautiful part of the school, run into the upper balcony, and they had a presentation. So we started the presentation, first with just the whole group, welcome, and then we watched an 8-minute promotional video that was made by a former student, a graduate from last year, Kyle Chung, who has done great work. If anyone saw the Joshua video, the tribute from last year, Kyle made that as well. We don't have enough time to watch the whole 8 minutes. It's on our website, but I do have a couple clips that I'm just going to go back and forth with to show you that video, and then we can talk about the day and some of the feedback. I mean, just as a sidebar, Kyle never made a video prior to coming to Waterford High School, so one thing that he's been really proud of.
Young Productions.
Down.
If you were to ask a Waterford High School student what they would remember most about their high school experience, it would be the hardest but most simple question to answer. Everyone will have their different opinions, but what it all leads down to is what makes Waterford High School the best high school in Connecticut. The next 4 years are going to be some of the most memorable and important times of your life, whether it be Spirit Week, basketball games, or just hanging out with your friends. I mean, this is high school, but not just any ordinary high school. It's a family. A nation where everyone is welcome. It's a place that you always feel like you belong. And what better place to spend those 4 unforgettable years than Waterford High School?
Hey guys, my name is Corey Morales. I graduated Waterford High School in the year 2012. Right now, I currently attend the United States Coast Guard Academy here in London, Connecticut, and I'm just here to tell you about how Waterford High School adequately prepared me for this institution.
I have a series of student interviews here, so I'm just going to skip just ahead a little bit, so we just hear some of the highlights.
And I'm a recent graduate of Waterford High School. I graduated last year, 2014, and now I attend Hofstra University. Ever since I graduated, people have asked me if I would repeat my 4 years of high school. I would say no, like anyone else. But when I say no, I don't understand why, because at Waterford High School, those were the best 4 years of my life, definitely. Because I made so many great memories through one, Spirit Week, when everyone came together and it was controlled chaos for a whole week. It was awesome. 2, sports. I've won championships, made bonds with other teammates that I will have forever. And 3, I miss the most is Lancer Nation. Lancer Nation is definitely the strongest student section in the world, I feel like. We go to games together, we win together, we lose together, and we're classy, I'd say. Just besides the game part of Lancer Nation, it's also, we're a family. We've gone through ups and downs. When Mr. Lee passed away, I feel like that everyone became closer, and because of that, we are even stronger than we were before. And so I just wanted everyone to know that Waterford High School is definitely the best high school around. There's no other place like it.
That guy's name is George Washington, this guy's name is George Ryan. And did you know our first names aren't the only thing we share in common? We both graduated from Waterford High School. Me in 2013, him, Steve actually graduated from Waterford High School. But the reason I am here in Boston with Big George up there is because I did graduate from Waterford High School. Waterford High School has a great teaching staff and also one of the best student bodies in Connecticut. You should really consider yourself lucky you're able to attend such a good and prestigious high school, because you're going to really miss it once you're out. I'm not kidding.
The place I hold very close to my heart. Had a great 4 years there. Created tons of relationships there with peers and also faculty and teachers. Relationships I'll hold on forever.
Also the teachers. They're there for you no matter what. They want you to succeed. They're willing to stay after with you, work with you, and help you. It's what makes Waterford so special.
First Selectman Donald Waterford. I graduated from Waterford High School in 1968. My wife graduated in 1970. My kids graduated from Fort Lauderdale High School.
And there's a few more that you can see for the full video. And the video had a great impact on the students, as I'm sure Jim can probably speak to, if you want to say anything about the video.
Well, first I want to thank you for arranging such a great day. The walkover was amazing.
and then being greeted by incredible, enthusiastic group of students who we kind of all knew, and they were now grown up and petitions for their school. It's an amazing thing. Then when we sat upstairs and watched the video, I think that, dogs are dropping all over the place. That was a really strong connection right off, and then, when the rest, I don't want to take any of the great explanations and descriptions or anything, but it was a perfect lead-in to a really fantastic video. And the kids came back and they really understood what the high school was. Before that, I would say most of them really didn't get the high school. They didn't really know the building. They didn't really understand what was there to offer. So it was just an overall great day.
Yeah, and I mean the video is, I'm sure you've seen promotional videos that are around. I mean, they're very popular now. NFA has one. Every time you go to day.com to watch a video, you see a quick clip. It's like the ABC football games on Saturday. You always see the quick school to campus. We chose, when I talked to Kyle about doing this video, to go a different route. And the route that we really tried to accomplish was just the idea of school culture and climate, Believe Blue, the Lantern Nation, because that's all encompassing. I mean, we wanted the 8th graders to be a part of that. And, as a sidebar, at the end, result of this at the end was a free T-shirt that all the students got. These shirts were really popular last year during the basketball games. It's a Waterford High School class of 2019 Believe Blue T-shirt, and every 8th grader got one of these. And then if they wore these to the football game Friday, they got it for free. I worked the football game Friday, and there were a ton of kids with T-shirts. And Rick Little, who was a beloved PE teacher who's retired, was working game 2, and he said, I don't know what it is. It's just a difference. The last few years, it's not Waterford High School and Clark Lane anymore. It just seems like we're all Waterford. We're all Waterford schools. And I mean, he's right. So that was one of the huge, reasons why we wanted to get going with this as well, and the collaboration has been wonderful. After that video, we organized, Stephanie D'Antelli did a lot of work in the middle school, and she organized the classes into 12 groups, and we assigned one male, one female student for tour guides, so we had 12 groups of tour guides. The 8th graders met their tour guides. They talked for like 10 minutes, got to know. We really asked a lot of questions. What do you want to know? About a week before the event, Stephanie D'Antelli organized a survey, and that survey was basically just based on their high school interests. Some of the stats that you have in front of you, based on that survey, 30%, so a third of the 8th graders said they were unsure or not planning on attending Waterford High School, and that worked out to be about 63, 65 students. So that were on the fence or knew that they didn't want to go. Of those 60% said they're not attending because, or they're not sure they're attending because they want to learn a vocation or a trade. 23% because of sports or extracurricular activities. So, we had a week and we really thought about how do we want to tackle this, and we know that we have a tremendous industrial art facility at the high school. Our tech headroom, and you're going to see in the video a little bit later, car lifts, the cars going up on the lift, and our drafting. Just recently won an award that I think Andre is going to speak about tonight. Our drafting room is incredible. We have a video production room that is like, you could have nightly news in there.
Yeah.
We have a beautiful kitchen and culinary room. So we had these stations planned out for as soon as they hit those, with the classrooms and the 2 gyms, the weight room, the pool. The cafeteria, when the students were walking in the cafeteria, I mean, they were like, wow, this is like a restaurant. This is unbelievable. And it just, that momentum just kept building and building and building throughout the tours. Simultaneously, in the Fieldhouse lobby was our first, and we called it a Lancer Fair at the time, but Andre had a great idea today. Was just, let's just call this whole event the Lancer Fair. And, we held an activity fair. We had 33 clubs, teams, and other extracurricular activities. We had academic classes represented all by students in the Fieldhouse lobby. And for like 25-30 minutes, the students just got to walk around and get to know different sports, different teams, different clubs, and it was wonderful. And, the one thing that I really want to mention, and it was entirely student-led. We have a tremendous student body. I mean, Andre and Jim, to their credit, I mean, they took a back seat to this. And I did do a lot of planning of it, but when it came time to do the event, we turned it over to the kids. And I think Jim talked about today that it's impressive to see his kids at that level now, and it was a really nice connection. So, I mean, our kids took to it. They did a great job on the tours. They did a great job on the Lancer Fair. You see some of the schools. We listed some of the schools that the students are considering attending, and half of them are considering Grosso Tech. Said 37% Norwich Tech, 30% Science and Tech, and then it goes down from there. And so the industrial arts is an area that we just focus on. You'll see that.
The numbers were pretty surprising when you look at the numbers for students that are enrolled, Waterford residents that are enrolled in other schools. 2014, there's 131 students enrolled in area schools, not Waterford. So the last 4 years, and that's based on by October 1st numbers, grades 9 through 12, 125 kids a year we're averaging are not enrolled in Waterford. So our population is about 820. We could be over 900. And there's obviously various reasons why students are doing that. So how do we do this? We met with, I met with the principal on the first day of school, talked about this. We met on 9/18 with Clark Lane, surveyed the 8th graders. We collected, we trained our students who did a wonderful job. We had an itinerary, a tour map, a route that we really, planned out. When the students were there, the 8th graders, the production for the play which is happening tonight was like the stage was like mid set up. They're like, it was just incredible for the kids to see. And we had about 105 8th graders each day, over 100 students participated at Waterford High each day, 33 clubs represented. I'll just show you a quick 2-minute video of the actual event. And they went all over the school, and they were pretty amazed. I think Jim mentioned that. The kids built a 3D printer, and they didn't even know it existed, and they had a blast. And they were really surprised. We have a beautiful building, but they haven't been inside the building. A lot of these kids have never been inside. They never realized how tremendous it is. So next steps for this, obviously. We can't let up. The other area schools by law will be, back in making their presentations. We really want to set the bar high here. But we know, it's what you do now. We have a lot of kids hooked, but we have a lot of steps in place to continue to have this partnership between the two schools, which is going to be really critical. We're going to have a parent info night at the high school on October 30th for parents that are going to, be able to see the school, ask questions, and see the video as well. We'll have small group sessions planned in the spring right now to have 8th graders come and probably go through, hopefully, maybe one class or two classes in the sense of getting a schedule, they're getting a feel for the school. We'll have another, Clark Lane night at basketball game with the blue shirts and things like that. And there's going to be a guidance mentoring program that's being set up as well. Stephanie Diatelli coming from the high school last year, going to middle school this year was a tremendous, really good timing for that. And, on Sunday, the day, we'll have a teacher on area schools marketing, and they're going to feature Waterford because, as the reporter told us today, we are the first public school to really be tackling this. But that won't last for long. I think public schools are going to be on this now, so it's good that, we have the support, and I think the board is giving us the support with that as well. And hopefully, by the spring, we're seeing immediate results, and we continue this. Because, like I said, we have the best facility, we have the best school, we have the best culture, and it's time that we kind of start showing that off a little bit more to make sure these students are staying here. So if there's any questions, thank you, Greg. Let's take them.
Board, I'd just like to compliment you, and I'm so happy to see the follow-up activities that are going to take place, and it's important. This board has spoken in the past that we don't do enough to market the greatness of our schools, and so you're really, and that video production was amazing. I think everyone would say, so please give our compliments, and it really captured the spirit of Waterford High School, I think. So I'm sure we'll be interested to see as we go through next year where this goes. But I think it's wonderful, and it's such a nice transition for the 8th grade students to come up and visit the high school. So thank you very much. Excellent work. Thank you.
Greatly appreciate your work, Ray.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Makes you want to go back to high school.
At least Waterford.
Waterford High School. Thank you. Okay. The Board of Education has in front of it this evening the agreement between the Waterford Board of Education and the Waterford classroom teachers. And for our public, I will just take a few moments to go through some of the highlights of the contract before the board goes to any additional action. This is a 3-year contract as customary, and it will go for the period of July 1st, 2015 through June 30th, 2018, with a salary increase including any increments of steps of 2.99%, 2.99%, and 2.99% for the 3 years. State averages for the settlements are 2.91, 3.08, and 2.98 for the same period. There is an increase in employee health insurance premium cost share, as well as increases in all co-pays for a variety of the health services. Factoring in the health insurance changes reduces the financial impact to 2.49%, 2.05%, and 1.75% over the 3 year of the agreement. And tonight, just prior to the contract, we received additional settlement updates, and they're much higher than what the Waterford settlements are reaching tonight. A mandatory wellness program has been established. The Waterford Public Schools is the only group besides the state of Connecticut with a plan as comprehensive as the one that we have in front of us tonight. The plan combines a biometric component and a benefit-based component with a plan design, penalties, with higher co-pays. This program stresses mandatory utilization of preventative benefits and coaching programs which will assist members in identifying and avoiding potential chronic conditions and helping manage those conditions. In addition, we've established a uniform student instructional day at all school levels of 6 hours and 45 minutes. And there are no increases to the supplemental pay, positions, and stipends during the term of the contract. All stipends remain at the 2014-2015 rates. And I can say, just comment before I open to a vote and to discussion, the Board of Education believes that this is a very solid contract. It wants to recognize the teachers that worked so cooperatively with the board to reach this agreement. Did not go to arbitration, and we're very pleased that we have such a very high working relationship with our teachers in the district. So I think this contract speaks well for both sides, and I'm very pleased. Before I open and for comments, however, would someone care to make a motion for discussion?
That the Waterford Board of Education ratifies and approves the agreement between the Waterford Board of Education and the Waterford Federation of Classroom Teachers, July 1st, 2015 through June 30th, 2018.
Thank you, Ann. Is there a second to that motion? Second by Lisa. Any comments from the board? The board here to make any comments? Well, just once again, I would like to say I think this is an excellent contract, and when you factor in the new health insurance provisions, and I think I may speak for the board to say that we think that this, additionally going to this wellness program being the first in the state, where hopefully that we'll see some real strong health benefits as well, in that we can't put a dollar amount on it to be saving lives by moving this district into the wellness program, so we're very delighted to have this kind of a contract. Also, the other good features for our teachers, and with the work day and the instructional day being uniform, I think the board appreciated that very much. And just all around, I think it speaks well for our district. So with that, if there is no other, Mr. Dellier, would you like to add any comments?
I think that both sides worked very well throughout the process.
Thank you. If there are no other comments, we can move to a vote. All those in favor of the new contract, please say aye.
Aye.
Is there anyone opposed? That motion carries unanimously. Thank you. And now just for a point of clarification, the board, this contract now will move to the RTM on November the 17th, and the RTM has the ability to vote it up or down. However, if they were to choose, which I don't think has happened here for many decades, if they were to choose not to accept this contract, it would have to go to arbitration, which would be quite a hefty cost to the district. And because Waterford's ability to pay is there, it would be very highly unlikely that it would be overturned. I just wanted to make the comment of the next step in the procedure. So that would be November 17th by the RTM. Okay. That takes us to our consent agenda. If we may, it includes the minutes for the September 23rd, 2014 special meeting, the September 26th, 2014 special meeting, the monthly financial expenditure report. Is there a motion to accept the consent agenda as read?
So moved.
Jody, is there a second? Second by Dave. Any discussion, corrections, amendments? Hearing none, we can move to vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries as well. Takes us to reading or review of correspondence.
I have no correspondence at this time to share.
I only have the CAVE materials which I believe you all received, and the CAVE conference coming up, and then a new review by the publication of the National Federation of State High School Associations, legal issues related to the use of drones. I'll be reading that here for you. And that's it for me. So we can move right to your report, Mr. Bailey.
I have a number of things to share this evening. We have a Waterford High School music student, Elena Malukas, who was chosen to perform at the National Music Convention in Nashville, Tennessee, and that's quite an honor for the Waterford Public Schools. Throughout the room, you see quite a bit of student work on display from Waterford High School in the back. You see some posters with information around 2011. And that was from Brett Arnold's class. You see some artwork on display. You also see some math work from Kyle Florio's classroom over here. And from our business program, you see a number of different career opportunities that students have explored. And also from our drafting and CAD classes, you see some computer-aided drawings in different places throughout the room. So it really brings to light quite a bit of the talent from Waterford High School. There's also some newspaper articles from Ian Cheney's history class with two different sightings that really demonstrated bias and background and how it can influence an article that's written. So please take the opportunity to take a look at the student work that's on display. We are exploring the opportunity for solar energy at Waterford High School. At the school building committee meeting the other night, we had a chance to just mention to the school building committee we're taking a look at that opportunity. That's something that we would bring to the board. We're working with consultants from BDS Energy, and we may have a really good opportunity to move in that direction, to really blend the geothermal along with solar energy, and we know with the skyrocketing of the electricity costs that this is certainly a worthy project for us to investigate. So there's more to come in the near future regarding that. We met with representatives from Project Learn, looking at a strategic plan that the board has identified that you'd like to move towards with one of your goals. So my hope is that perhaps at the November meeting we can present a proposal to the board to take a look at and see if this meets the desires and the approach that you'd like to take. We have visited all 5 of our schools, sharing with our staff the wellness opportunities that are part of the benefit package that is currently in place. And I think that's really informed our staff well. We've distributed literature, but this isn't time to really go through the literature. So having representatives from Anthem meet with the staff, show them how to navigate the website and whatnot, I think is going to be a very big help. Craig and I yesterday, along with Jay Miner, had the opportunity, and Ann was there as the photographer in August, over at Waterford Country School, visiting the new Otto Graham Fieldhouse. And as Bill Martin said, ribbon cutting is not necessarily in their style, and the way they broke the ice for the new Fieldhouse was having students along with different guests set up under a basket, and the first shot was taken at each basket, and it was really exciting. The kids were absolutely great, and so we really appreciated that. We have a number of awards that just came in, and maybe, Andre, you might want to help me with this. There was a recent luncheon, and I think I shared with you the results from the career components over at Waterford High School. So yesterday they attended a luncheon, and we came home with the gold. We have different plaques rating Waterford High School in a number of categories first.
Yes, this was the Career and Technology Education. She got the big, we got the little one at the school today. This is Career and Technology Education. It's a big push for the state in terms of our tech ed and our family and consumer science classes. And students who've taken a certain number of courses and met prerequisites take what's called a concentrator exam. This is an exam that's given to all students statewide who meet those criteria. And historically we've done pretty well, not always, the very top, but pretty well. This year, the tests that were given in the spring, our CAD, so computer-aided drafting and design students, ranked first in the state. Our foods and nutrition students ranked first in the state. And if we look at our overall results across all of the different tests that our students took, we ranked first in the state. So, not a bad year.
Not a bad year.
Great. May I follow up from there?
Sure.
I had the opportunity to attend the ceremony yesterday to do a little arrangement, so may I read this for everyone to, it's a wonderful commentary for it goes right along with what we were saying tonight with the 8th grade program. So it's the Connecticut State Department of Education Career and Technical Education recognizes Waterford High School as the #1 ranked Connecticut secondary school with less than 100 concentrators for the 2014 Connecticut statewide Connecticut assessment presented on October 23rd. So I think the Board of Education is very proud of this achievement, and we congratulate you, your staff over at the high school on this tremendous award. And I can tell you, the Waterford teachers made more noise than anyone else in the entire room. They were just absolutely thrilled to get these nice awards, and they made quite an issue of the Waterford school system. So thank you.
This month we're featuring Waterford High School students' work on display here in the board conference room, and the good news just continues to build. We learned today that Mike O'Connor was named the Marine Educator of the Year by the Southern New England Marine Educators Association at their annual meeting, and they selected him for having writing the pilot curriculum for the ECE Marine Corps at UConn, his involvement in the various boards and competitions, and the creative classroom approaches that Mike takes. So that's quite an honor for Mike as well as for the Waterford High School. So kudos out to Mike and to the school. And last but not least, in front of you, you have some information around the November 4th Professional Development Day, and I'd just like to give Craig an opportunity just to highlight the work that's going to be going on election day.
Learning is a continual process, and as an example of that, even before we get into the November 4th PD, today at the high school, during their after-school 1-hour professional PLC meeting, we had an educational unconference where we had 14 different opportunities, 7 workshops, and then the faculty could pick a different workshop to choose, another 7. We had teachers from the elementary, middle school, as well as high school present to the high school colleagues. The high school faculty got to choose which of the conferences they wanted to attend, and arranged from how to post your PowerPoint and your presentations onto your school webpage, to how to make your own flipped classroom videos. It was highly effective. Teachers were getting the feedback as I was walking around. It was a very good use of PLC time, and I think it's something that we'll replicate. That's just one nested bit of professional development. On November 4th, we'll have all 250 teachers, 64 paraprofessionals, and 9 administrators engaged in a day of really learning. When the students are not with us, this is the second of 3 days throughout the school year. As you recall, for this November and March, we have a regional calendar. So that affords us some regional student opportunities. So we will be with in the Unified Arts and Special Ed departments and areas with 19 other school communities getting together. When we look at the PD calendar, and that's kind of all the events they're really around curriculum renewal work. So we have science, art, and our TAG program underneath curriculum renewal. We'll be working on that day. When we talk about implementation of the language arts curriculum, K-12, really we're focused around units of study, which is really the groups of lessons to bring to life the curriculum document, and teachers will be working on that. Under implementation of the math curriculum, our elementary coaches will be also working on units of study for the coordination of the elementary program, while the secondary teachers are really going to be continually unpacking that 65-35 concept of who's doing the work in the classroom. And we want the students to be really doing more of the work in the classroom, and so they'll be working on that. For social studies, we're really looking at implementation of writing in the social studies curriculum that was just approved this spring at the board meeting. For physical education, again, implementation of their curriculum with some effective and safety training and use of the Project Adventure equipment, which affords students that team building, problem solving, and leadership tasks within PD. We have a myriad of regional PD offerings in our business, music, library media, family, consumer science, health, technology, and world language. We are hosting the librarians from around the 19 communities, as well as the world language teachers. From special education, we'll also be hosting the speech and language and social workers in their work regionally. In addition, our paraprofessionals, our special ed paraprofessionals will be engaged into literacy strategy training. Our computer paraprofessionals is really the role of their work with the work of the technology coordinators. The elementary literacy paras and math paras will also be engaged in the work respectively. So we are planning for a very busy, highly packed in, and anticipated to be highly productive day.
And after we usually get a report back for this, so you'll give us a little synopsis after and what areas were covered again, I think. So that's great.
The goal
Thank
is
you.
really to provide meaningful professional
Yeah.
development that directly relates to what teachers are doing.
And you covered everything.
I just have a question. Do the teachers just get to go to one workshop, or can they go to one in the morning and one in the afternoon?
For this, we have 28 different formats really. So it's really around their needs. So like with the elementary teachers, the first part of the day would be a renewal of their understanding of how to do a running record, and then for the remainder of the day it will be working on numeracy studies, where in some areas they just need full time to work on one.
Thank you very much.
That's all I have.
Thank you. Takes us to our next item, which will involve committee and other reports. Do you have any committee reports, Jody?
Youth Service Bureau, I'll do them first. They're very busy. All of their after-school programs have waiting lists. Their Furry Friends program has been really, really successful. Andy told us a funny story about how Mr. Pecorelli, I guess, brought cakes for the children to see. They got loose. They were running around Boston Post Road trying to get the pigs. They were able to find them all. None of them.
No wonder they're oversubscribed.
Also, they're getting ready for their holiday programs. They're going to, with Jerry's permission, they're going to do Stuff the Bus again, and that food is going to go to the Waterford New London Interfaith Food Locker, and they're in great need this year. They need a lot of food, unfortunately. Also, they opened it up to families to sign up for Christmas for their holiday help to families that are in need. Right now, Youth Service Bureau is going to start doing interviews for a secretary, and then probably later on in the year they'll be looking for they'll be doing interviews for someone to take Aaron's place in running the program. Now, the school building committee report, Jerry pretty much told you the highlights. We're looking into the possibility of solar energy at the high school, and 32.1% of the cost of that would be reimbursable to the town from the state, which will be great. And they're looking to renovate the pools, the auditorium, and the field house, just that area there. But that would be, I think, it would be a substantial solar energy.
Use the roof.
Yeah, reimbursement. But it's 32.1% reimbursement. Yeah, right.
Jay almost had a heart attack.
Sorry. No, and I just wanted to comment that Jay's crew has been working really, really hard all summer and fall, and the high school looks really, really nice. And also they're working on fall planting there, so that should be all set, so everything will look really nice in the springtime. I think that was it for the school building committee. The Friendship School, we haven't had a meeting yet, but as I reported at our last month's meeting, Kathy Supran is retiring, so they're putting together a committee a process to pick a new principal. And I'm really going to miss Kathy. I think she's done a phenomenal job there. I think that's it.
Jody and I hope, and we said we'll bring Kathy in at some point. Sure. To wish her well. Are there any other committee reports? Hearing none, I can just give a report to that the board has had discussion and that we will be developing a broad process for the superintendent search, and that we will give updates at our regular monthly Board of Education meetings where we are in the process. But we will be looking to go out to various consultants. We'll be using, we're not quite sure which consultants just yet, so that'll be part of the process, and it'll be broad-based, and it'll be monthly updates to everybody, so we'll know where we stand with the search process. If there are no other committee reports right now, that can take us to our 2014-2015 goals. You have them in your packet, and this is not the first time we've had them in front of us now for a couple of months.
Well, one of the things you asked at our last meeting was also to place into the packet the goals in the last 3 years, so you have the background going back to 2011-12. And what I did was take into consideration your suggestions for edits and modifications and actually place them into 2 categories. So the first goal relates to designing and funding a multi-year strategic planning process. And one of the things that we'll be able to do is invite Learn-In to share a proposal with you. The second goal was to develop a strategy that features the benefits of the new Waterford High School, and you can see the work that's underway already with the presentation tonight. to continue to promote our mental health and initiate proactive approaches to reduce emotional stress among our students, especially now that we've added some additional support at our schools. To place a high priority on effective professional development and provide the necessary funding and resources. Take a look at different options and explore the possibilities for global experiences, not only K-5, but also right up through the high school, as well as to ensure that the approach that we're taking for the implementation of Common Core and FBAC and other mandated programs, we thoughtfully implement those to benefit students without compromising our values. And then two ongoing goals to continue the work that we've already begun, and that's to continue to work on the indicators of success to measure our effectiveness, as well as to continue to be cost-effective, financially prudent, and really push the envelope to see how we can continue to save money. And so you have in front of you 6 goals that I hope have taken into consideration your suggestions and edits, and I think it's important to discuss and then take action.
Any discussion by the board? Jody?
Jerry, I just have a question. Have the other area superintendents, remember how we used to get together for regional, we wanted to look into regional cost savings? Have they all dropped the ball on that?
They haven't. One of the things that we do is I chair the area superintendents group through Project Learn. There are 24 of us, and that's a continual conversation and thinking about ways that we could combine and partner with. So that's an ongoing process.
Okay. I thought that was really worthwhile if we could do that.
Just, I'm not quite sure how to even address this, but on the third goal, to promote mental health and initiate proactive approaches to reduce, it's a little bit vague to me on what, maybe we need to just strengthen how we're going to do that or the outcome. Maybe we could look at how many, because I know we're putting out the early intervention and identification piece.
Well, one of the things that we would do from this is develop the action steps. And then, if you recall, we come back at mid-year and we share the progress with each of those. So we've done those reports both at mid-year and then at the end of the year.
I think it was just to reduce emotional stress. But if maybe we can identify that a little easier with the when we.
And we can share with the board the strategies and what we're noticing at our schools around that, with our social workers and school psychologists.
And with back on the first goal, we did say when we do the strategic planning process, there may be an outside consultant that would go under that part in the project. But I think these are excellent.
So I just, as part of the emotional, the mental health piece, can we also include Youth Service Bureau in that? Because I know they help us a lot with our students.
And that can be part of our action.
Right.
That's a great idea.
It's part of the action.
Do you need a motion?
Would you like to take, we could take a motion. Go on. Ann?
Okay. That the Waterford Board of Education approves and adopts goals for the 2014-15 as presented.
Is there a second to the motion? We've just second. Further discussion. Yes. Under the investigate option and explore possibilities. These are just. I just want to make clear we're not. This is just we're looking at options, right? And what the possibilities could be in the future.
Right. I think as Greg commented the last time is that the important is for us to take a look at the variety of options. So this would be a research period for us to bring back to the board some suggestions and possibilities.
If there's no further discussion, we can move to a vote. All those in favor of adopting the 2014-2015 goals, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? That motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Under new business, we have the budget calendar, which was enclosed on a new tentative budget timeline. Out.
So one of the things that Kathleen, Bob, and I strongly advocated for at the last long-range fiscal planning committee was to really move the process for the Board of Education out of months, because in the past you've wrapped up the budget in January, and the next time we visit it is in the middle of the month of March with the Board of Finance. And so in working with our new finance director and having this conversation at the table, we're proposing a little different calendar. In the past, we used to do the workshops in January. We would host 2 workshops in February, the 5th and the 12th. At our next meeting, you need to adopt a board meeting calendar. So what I would suggest, so that it's not a special meeting, you can cross out the word special. We could actually plan to have the board meeting on the 19th that evening. You could still do the work on the budget prior to, and then adopt a budget on the 19th. Our goal would be then to have the budget in the town's finance office by the 27th. It would give the Board of Finance a solid 2 weeks to review it privately before we go into public discussion. We would also be able to get the budget book to you at the end of January. We met today with our town insurance consultant, and as we've learned along the way, it's at the end of January that we really get the best numbers. And so if you recall the predicament that we were in last year, we were working with best numbers at the time. We got more solid numbers later, and we needed to make some adjustments. So if you're fine with this particular calendar, then we'll move ahead with it.
I think it's an excellent calendar, and that when we got the figures in the last time, it keeps the board that we're not changing the budget after that we have the actual figures that we're looking at. Jody?
Will this give us enough time, for instance, if any of the schools are going to go up on their tuition or any extra costs that we won't know about?
Well, we will have verbal conversations. We generally don't get anything in writing, but it gives us a little bit more time, an extra month. We're now past the mid-year point to really try to ascertain that information.
We were surprised last year.
Yeah. So we can have more accurate information by pushing this out an additional month.
And this was all clear because I remember the one time that we all went through the charter and this is perfectly fine.
It's really, the charter, what we have, it really works for the town side. It really doesn't address the board side, so as long as the board has the budget in by the end of February for the review in the middle of March, it should work.
Wonderful. I think it's much better budget timeline for us. May I have a motion?
You really don't need a motion for the calendar.
Oh, I don't?
I don't think so. I think
not on there.
it's just information.
Yeah, good, thank you.
Information.
One last motion. We'll look at our budget assumptions then.
And then to really help us go about the work of developing and building the budget, one of the things we've placed into your packet are the assumptions. And one of the things that we need to be mindful of, this is what we're building the budget on. These are known factors with contract agreements and different items like that. So one of the things that you see right off from the get-go, having the assumptions really provides us with guidance and causes us to really use data so that we're well informed. And our goal is, through this entire process, is to maintain the quality of programs and services in a very fiscally responsible way. So the first assumption really relates to continuing to explore those opportunities to be cost effective. The areas we're exploring are related to health benefits, and tonight, as you discussed the teacher contract, you see certainly the implementation in the upcoming fiscal year of a new wellness program, which I think is going to bring direct benefits not only to the members but also to the town. We'll continue to explore transportation opportunities. We're looking very closely at special education. I shared with you, and you see this in the assumption, really the partnership with UConn Avery Point, so that our students will actually have a classroom and be able to be educated on that campus, and it can save us some significant dollars. In the area of technology, it's important that we continue to upgrade, and we're looking at virtualization at 2 more of our schools, in particular Clark Lane and Oswegatchie. And then our energy exploration. We've already bid oil prices, and we've locked in for next year. We really got a great price for it, I think $2.79. And so we're being proactive now, and we've made that agreement, and that's much cheaper than we're paying this year in the budget. We're looking at an electricity bid. We're looking at exploring the solar energy at Waterford High School. We also have a top priority for us is really maintaining reasonable class sizes so that we can provide the quality instruction that we want to provide, and so that's an important guideline for us. We have curriculum initiatives related to curriculum renewal. That's the continual work with science as well as in the area of arts and talented and gifted. The quality of technology, blended learning opportunities as well. We have a multi-year plan for replacing and upgrading technology in support of student learning. We have a number of state mandates, and we need to be very mindful and make sure we're inclusive of all of those within our budget. We're also started in the past year where we're starting to absorb some of the costs because we're getting less federal entitlements. We also know that E-rate is changing. We don't know quite the impact as yet, but we know we'll have some impact in some shape or form. So we need to be sure that we include that in our budget. We're also looking at a 70% threshold for reimbursement with that cost related to special education. We're looking at consumable goods at an increase of 2.75% representative of the Consumer Price Index. We're also looking at, we have these beautiful facilities. We want to be sure that we budget appropriately for preventative maintenance and school safety and provide the necessary resources. We know that with our connection with Waterford Country School that we have some obligations for education and transportation. We have 6 bargaining groups. We need to be sure that we include all of the salary and benefits connected to those particular contracts. We want to continue to develop strategies to be more efficient and cost effective. It needs to be a needs-based approach and continue to employ innovative strategies to reduce the cost. We know we have grant funding that potentially could be reduced, and we need to include all of that within our budget. And not to lose sight, and last but not least, is really we're responsible for educating the whole child. So if these be with your approval, this will guide the budget development process.
May just point out that these are guiding the budget, but as we go through the budget process itself, sometimes there are areas that come to light that, so it's not, doesn't mean that the board can't, as we go through the process, look at it. So with that, would someone care to make a motion to accept the budget?
I'd like to make a motion that the Waterford Board of Education approves the budget assumptions for FY16 as presented.
Thank you, Jody. Second to that motion? Second, please. Is there any other comments? Are there any other comments? Okay. Hearing none, we can move to a vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Those are carried. Thank you. Now we're going to look at priorities.
As an administrative team, we've already begun the conversation internally around priorities, and this is an opportunity that we'd like to hear from the board. Is there something that we're not thinking about? So as an important priority for us is to maintain the age-appropriate class sizes, to maintain programs and services so that we're retaining our students here in Waterford and not having them select other programs, to sustain our instructional coaching and support model that we have in place, to sustain and enhance the mental health services with our social workers and school psychologists, and to place an emphasis on quality professional development and training. So from our conversation as an administrative team, these were high priorities for us in moving forward in the developmental process. Is there anything that we're missing? Is there anything from a board perspective that you want to be sure that we place high on the list?
Just wonder when we have maintained the program, do you think we want to say that we want to maintain programs currently that we have? We may want to, we want to maybe say that just maintaining programs that may not include all that we currently have in place.
We didn't want to go backwards.
That can't change either.
We didn't want to go backwards.
We don't want to go backwards.
So many of these things sound like a means rather than a priority. To me, the priority is we want to have our students educated to compete in the world, to be productive citizens. If they have special needs, we want to meet those special needs. But what is listed here is the way you would go about achieving that.
Yeah.
And that's fine with me, but, you know, maybe the nomenclature is wrong. That's a fine point. I think we're all on the same page with what we want.
So what are you saying on the top?
I don't know if it made any sense, but I'm just saying is I think
You're thinking more globally, and here's the outcome,
our goal.
and here are the means.
Yeah. Our budget priority is a result, and this is a means to attain that result. I don't know if you want to...
I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
I think it's just the way you
Yeah,
rephrase it.
that will help guide us.
Yeah. The only piece, and I think we learned that as we go through the budget, the board depends on the administrators to find out, and then the teachers, what are the needs, and then we base what we believe off of what we're hearing. In some of the past, I'm not suggesting that we're doing that, I'm just saying it would be good for the board to know, are there other needs that, or when we have eliminated programs because of budget crisis and that we weren't able to keep them in place, just to refresh the board what those were, and just to keep an eye on, I'm not suggesting that we do it, but just to know what they are. What are the needs? What other areas might we be overlooking?
Maybe we couldn't fund in this upcoming
That's
budget.
exactly what I'm trying to say, that there could be something here that we're overlooking, and I would just like to know what it might be. Jody?
I just wanted to make sure that we get feedback on all of these priorities that we have, to make sure that it's going to come back to the board how we're doing with all of this.
Yeah.
And some suggestions, things like that.
Anything that we implement, we come back and we share it the following year, at the end of that year, at the end of the full year of implementation. So I think that's been a nice addition.
Thank you for putting this together. This is, that will change what Greg's mentioning. I think this is excellent people.
And lastly, just, again, our brainstorming and thinking about it, one of the things that we're going to move forward with strategic planning, we need to make sure that we fund it.
Right.
That we're also now moving in the direction of marketing our schools, and so we talked about what are the funds that we're going to need to do that. And it might not be very much, as you can see, since we didn't have a budget for this, we figured out a way to go about doing it.
Can't beat that video.
We have the technology, right?
Absorbing the costs associated with the magnet school special education services. We know annually those rates increase, and so we need to make sure we take care of that. We have a need for an additional electrician, quite frankly, and so we want to be looking at this budget and see if there's a way that we can do that. We also are taking a look at any expansion around special subject area staffing at Park Lane Middle School. And so those were expanding staffing for elementary phys ed, music, and art. These are some things that we're going to be taking a look at, offering a financial course at Waterford High School, and also making sure we have appropriate funding for maintenance equipment. So that's a big task for us, to try to do this within some guidelines that we receive from the long-range fiscal planning. But I think if we can identify these right from the get-go, then it helps us start to build a fiscal plan.
Thank you very much. So we'll continue the discussion, but Jody, did you want to make something?
I just wanted to add something. I would like to see, we probably can't afford it, but I think with creative thinking we might be able to do it, have more after-school programs. That to me is, I think it's a big need in Waterford. I mean, Youth Service Bureau is so small, they really can't accommodate the number of students that need something to do after school before their parents get home. So
Look at that.
I would really like to see us do something like that.
And some of the resources we talked about. Thank you, Jody. If we can take a motion,
I think we need I think we just
I want
wanted
to take a
share.
motion on everything.
I think we
just
just
wanted to
wanted
make
to
everything
share
legal,
and
that's
get your
fine.
reaction.
Okay.
do it as we go through so that
Well,
it's
since we are able actually to change these as we go through, so we don't need to take motion. Okay, so now we're going to get a little update on what you're doing with the goals.
So certainly a week ago at this time, we were all rather nervous, understanding that potentially we had a patient at Yale that might have contracted Ebola. And so one of the things that I wanted to do was just kind of give you an update on what's been going on here in the district. On Tuesday this week, Craig, Kathy Valone, principals, and myself, we met with Steve Mansfield and Russell Melmet from the Ledgelight Health District. And we had a great discussion on protocols that we would need to follow if there was an event. I have in front of you a protocol that was put together based upon their guidance. And what was great is last week, all of our nurses met with Russell Melmet. And we do this annually, and the timing of this was great because it was around infectious disease, and the primary focus was really around Ebola. I think it was on last Thursday, we posted onto our website for parents some guidance regarding this particular disease, the CDC guidelines and information. Tomorrow, Ledgelight Health District is organizing a regional meeting over at L&M for all of our municipal leaders, EMS, to receive training. And our focus really has been all around, if indeed there was an event, with someone meeting one of the identified criteria by the CDC. So it really comes down to anyone who recently traveled from Liberia, from Sierra Leone, or Guinea within the last 21 days that really presents some of the symptoms: fever, vomiting, severe headache, abdominal pain, etc. And if we have that occur within our schools, our nurses are aware of this, that students would be isolated. What that means is kind of quarantined into a room. The first step is to call 911, share with them that we have a student that has exhibited some symptoms that needs to be transported to a health facility. We then are asked to call the State Department of Health, and then thirdly, get a hold of Ledgelight. You also know that by the end of last week, the governor has set up a point person at the State Department. That individual is providing the oversight for the entire state. So it was an opportunity for us to be brought up to speed. And one of the things that was reaffirmed for us, that generally the folks that are in danger of contracting are those that have traveled and they have been in contact with an individual. And generally speaking, it's a healthcare provider that they have been involved with blood samples. It might have been in actually not protecting himself or herself when working or moving a body that might have been ill. And we were told to be very careful about this as far as overreaction, but have your protocols in place. The risk is very low. But I just wanted to assure the board that we've been very proactive, especially as there was a threat that maybe it was here in Connecticut. And I think we've gotten some good advice, and you can see a protocol that we've drafted that will get out to the schools tomorrow, as well as our school nurses. So I just wanted to assure you that we're working at it.
Thank you. I know, Greg, you were concerned about this, so thank you.
Just a comment. Sometimes we develop a protocol if it's too rigid, and those administering it lose the ability to inject common sense.
Yeah.
For example, our students may not have traveled abroad, but their parents may have. The students may not have any idea where these geographical locations are. So hopefully, for that type of student, the health professional would ask if the parents have been away or traveled anywhere lately. Some type of question like that to elicit
even calling the parent to have the conversation.
Rather than just rely on a form.
Right. Good point.
Well, and not to make anything more frightening, but that other virus, that intro virus, this is good to know and to have a plan That one I think is also something we want to watch. Thank you very much for putting that in front of the board tonight. Okay, I think that's the end of our regular agenda, and I will need a motion from someone on the board to go into executive session and invite our attorney to attend the session with us, Ann Littlefield, and it will be regarding a confidential attorney-client privilege written memorandum.
So moved. Sorry.
Thank you, Jerry, so I don't forget. Now, and it would be also with the invitation of the attorney, Craig, Joyce, and Mr. Belair. Okay, so I have the motion on the table. All those in favor, please say aye. Anyone opposed? We will go into executive session. Thank you for coming out tonight. Thank you. Oh, yeah.
Kathy, we'll get that to you.